Today we're making beaded begleries. You might have seen my previous build where I made them out of the blue pipe. And that was good, but I found that the beaded ones are also a lot of fun, and they're easier to make than these. So let's step through that. Okay, so a couple things you might want to know. First of all, you can spend a lot on beads. These were $10 beads. I think these were $8 beads, $6 beads, and $4 beads. So I guess the more exotic you get, the heavier you get, the more expensive they are. I got all of these on sale at a craft store, much like my first name. But things you need to know, okay? Well, first of all, this is too thin, so I had to take a 7/64 drill and carve it out so that I could get the 95-pound paracord in there. Paracord, the 95-pound paracord works for most cases and most beads. It doesn't work for all beads. That's deceiving. You can try to get that in there, and this is a ceramic, and sometimes it will go and sometimes it won't. I tried drilling this out and I cracked one. It's hard to see the crack there. I super glued it and tried to do it again. So you're going to have some beads that fail or that aren't working. This was in the same set, and you can see where the hole was bigger. Ooh, out of control. Okay, so the hole easily went through there. So when you're buying beads, you want to make sure first of all, that they're very loud, and second of all, that the hole is big enough to put at least the paracord or maybe even some of this beading thread. But this stretches, so I like the paracord because it really doesn't stretch very much at all. And it's weighty. I found personally that anything that weighs anywhere from 1/4 of an ounce to an ounce seems to be the magic weight for me. It feels good. These are lighter beads, and in fact what I did here is I drilled them out, kind of what I did with these, and I used nuts, and I drilled this out, squeezed those in, and then I ran the paracord into there like this. This I actually painted one of these beads. Here I actually just stained it because I like the grain of the wood. And here I used lead sinkers, which I'm not a big fan of the lead because of kids and what have you. I'd rather use the steel nuts, but I just wanted to show that it could actually be done. But when you're drilling these things out, you have to be careful too, because that's a pretty wide drill bit, and you can see when I did this, I actually cracked this one open. But you can glue those in place or just leave them in place like that. They'll stay in there, and then you run the cord inside. Sometimes you'll have it a little too long. This is seems to be my ideal thing, but it's a little wider than the dimension I used before. Let's switch hands here. Okay, when I built it. So I put a little figure 8 in there to shorten it up, and I saw that on the internet. So this is kind of the same way, you know, it's a little long for me, but I've seen that some people like the begleries that are much longer, and you can do different tricks with them. So I made a couple that are like that. You put a simple figure 8 in there, and that really shortens it up and brings it right about where it needs to be. Okay, you don't want to clamp on that. You can loosen that. That's a pretty loose knot. It's a good loose, tight knot is what they call it. And that's not going anywhere. And so that can shorten it up, and you can have a longer version if you want. Okay? These are on the lighter side. The kids like them because they're not beating the heck out of you. Okay? And then this one actually is very short because it's from my 10-year-old's hands. And here, instead of trying to knot the thing through, I was trying to try a different way. Actually found some screws and glued them in place, and that's not going anywhere. But I think I just like the basic knot. Okay, sometimes you can get the regular standard paracord through there. You know, here I was just lucky, and I made this for my wife for the holidays. She likes purple and she liked the shine, so I made that for her. And if for some reason you think you're having problems getting through, you might want to have to cut a little edge there, and that will help you get it through. So I showed you these. Here's a shorter version of this with a red. You can really go crazy with different color combinations. Here's one with the blue on blue. If you only can go with one color, black seems to be a good color because it matches or will work with just about anything. And then once again, when you've got it down at the right length, trim it off with a nice sharp pair of flat scissors like this, cutters, and finish it off with a little bit of heat. Alright. Pretty simple builds. The paracord is probably, you're talking less than 10 cents. You're using less than a foot, depending on what dimension this is for you. 5 inches for me, 5 1/4 inches plus the knot, plus going through here. You can see once again that on my first rounds, kind of what I did here, I knotted because I felt like the beads had to be put in place. Not necessarily a big deal. As you can see, as I progressed and made new ones, didn't even care about that knot because the centrifugal force when you're running it around just keeps it in place. And if it slides up, no big deal when you're not using them. So, oh, the other thing that to keep in mind is that you could get, I was looking for some skulls because they look kind of cool, and I figured that skulls would be neat. But flat beads don't work very well. These really flip around and they're kind of uniform. The oblong shaped ones are kind of like these. And the diameter that you probably don't want to get much bigger than, at least when you're starting, is around less than an inch. So somewhere between 3/4, this is maybe a little shorter than 3/4, 3/4 to an inch. Okay, so this is probably more on the inch side and that's more on the 3/4 side. Okay, and that feels good, and so when you whip it around, it's easy to catch, and the weight less than an ounce. If it's too light, something like this, you really should try to put some weight in there. Pay your money, take your chances on the beads. Although, like I said, for my kids, they don't seem to care too much about the weight. Just gives it a little bit of a flipping action, and it doesn't beat on them like a heavier bead would. Also, the thinner the cord, the more the action. Okay, so if you get something with a standard paracord, it slows it down. That's kind of good when you're starting. Also, makes it a little more under control. Here's the beaded one. Okay, and I'm just basically learning the tricks. The kids love these. The beads are the factor, so I'm saying less than $2, because even though these are officially $10 beads, I got 6 of them. 6 of them? 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5. Yes, 8 of them for $5. So, and you need 2. You could change the colors up. If you could put one of the red ones with a black one, or with a blue one if you wanted to, and that really gives you a lot of different options. So the key points, once again, under an inch, between 3/4 of an inch to an inch on the bead itself. The weight, you want it somewhere between 1/10 of an ounce, but probably closer anywhere. My personal thought is about 1/2 ounce to an ounce. That seems to work well. The heavier they get, the more they might beat you up when you're learning. I found that if you start with the middle, some people start like this, and that, but you can see where it might be beating on you. If you start in the middle like this, you have a little more control, or at least that's what I'm finding as I'm learning. And once again, simple build for the kids. If you make them really light, they could take them to school. They're not going to hurt anybody. But always check with your school. You want them to think that it's some sort of ninja martial arts weapon or something like that. So here you go. Beads. Great, quick, easy way to make some begleries. Custom make them your own. In every different color, shade, the different kinds of paracord you have, and go at it. Thumbs up or leave comments, and or if you want to send me a picture of your beads, I'd love to see them. Stay tuned for another beglery involving heavy metal. See you later.